Welcome to the Life Success and Legacy Podcast. We're super excited. We are taking on a worthwhile endeavor at Life Success and Legacy. Our intention is to honor Nelson Nash, the man, as well as the infinite banking concept. We're going to create a series of resources, including podcasts and text, as a resource for others who want to truly understand with depth and clarity what Nelson shared in his book, Becoming Your Own Banker, as well as the many seminars and think tanks that we were fortunate to have attended during his life. So who is this intended audience? Well, we will use Nelson Nash's own words. It is written for the layman, not for financial advisors, but all life agents should be thoroughly knowledgeable of its content and practice. So whether you are an individual, part of a family, a business owner, or a life insurance agent, this is for you. So sit back, relax, and we will walk you through becoming your own banker step by step so you can reference the parts you want to revisit at your own pace. And we might have a little fun along the way.
We want to welcome you back to the Life Success Legacy Podcast. My name is Chris Bay, and I am joined by the founder of Life Success and Legacy, Michael King Everett. How are you?
Come on. Doing good.
Good. How's that shoulder recovery going?
We're getting there. I tell you, I think the doc said that I'll be golfing by April 1st. So not that I'm, that's a stretch right there.
How much can you lift these days, Mike?
I don't even have 1 pound. The doctor told me, he says, if you're going to do a curl, use an empty coffee cup.
Those don't taste very good.
You know, I'm telling you, I've been mostly, and really why they do that is motion, flow,
motion.
Yeah. So your joints,
use it or lose it.
Yeah, that's it. I'm telling you, it's a matter of keeping these things, in motion so they don't get all stowed up. But I literally had my brace on for 2 weeks, and I can't believe that my shoulder is this locked up. So I don't start PT till the 18th.
How's the sleeping going at night?
It's terrible. It's absolutely awful. I'm going to tell you, and I laugh about this. It's like a baby, on 3, off 3, on 3, off 3. Literally, it takes me 45 minutes or an hour to go back to sleep because my shoulder is screaming at me. Yeah. And I propped myself up for, the first week, and I said, this is awful. Had to sleep on my back. I don't sleep on my back, so it's another thing all in itself.
But our condolences to Linda.
Yeah, well,
for putting up with you.
Here's the awesome thing. My sweet wife, she said, you got to look at the long game. And I said, ooh, yeah. I said, does that have anything to do with thinking long term? Not that I talk about this stuff or anything, but
right.
Okay.
Mike Everett, how old are you today?
66.
Are you still insurable?
I am still insurable.
In fact, we recently did a policy on you, didn't we?
Yeah, just like 4 or 5 months ago.
Yeah, you even got a pretty good rating.
I was one down from the top. Yeah, let me tell you, I was all jacked up because about 5 years ago when I bought my last policy, I was a standard rating because I had some issues going on. So could be a deal.
Yeah. So this chapter that we're jumping into doesn't apply to you right now, but it could at some point.
It did for a short time.
Yeah, it did. That's right.
It really did.
It applied for my wife for a period of 10 years.
Yep.
And sometimes people just get old enough that it just doesn't make sense. But the title of this chapter is "What If I Am Uninsurable?" And people come to us all the time. They're like, I love this concept of infinite banking, but either for health reasons or age or whatever, they say, I don't think it applies to me. What are the reasons why someone might be uninsurable? First of all, let's just define that. Why would someone not be insurable?
Well, we're going to mostly look at health. They might be diabetic. They might have cancer. They could be overweight really badly. They could have high blood pressure. I mean, there's a number of different things. They might be insulin dependent. there really is a number of different things that could possibly toss them out for a time period and make them not insurable.
Mike, on the policy that we did on you recently inside our business, you still had a pretty good IBC policy with that at age 66.
And you know what? In some of the design, it really wasn't completely out of whack.
Right.
You know, because usually as you get older, what happens? The cost of insurance goes up. So that means that the cost of insurance, that means the amount that we would normally put into the base policy would be a higher number, but it really wasn't that awful bad when we started to take the premium that we were going to pay versus the potential death benefit and cash value that would be available. And it was like, wow.
Yeah.
So it really does pay to be healthy.
It does. It does. Stay away from tobacco products.
No,
right?
buddy. Yeah. I didn't even talk about tobacco.
Yeah, that's another thing, which it won't necessarily make a person uninsurable, but
it would rate the policy.
Yes, it can have an impact on the effectiveness of the policy for sure. Yeah. Okay, so Mike, in this chapter, the question is, what if I'm uninsurable, right?
Yeah.
Everybody is blessed with perfect health. And he gives us a scenario here. And for our listeners, we're going to talk about the scenario a little bit. And then, as Mike is so good at, he's going to take us to an illustration that Nelson gave us an example of. So set up this scenario, Mike.
So we got a 50-year-old dad. He's
that sounds familiar to me.
Yeah.
I'm a little beyond that. But,
there you go. But not much.
Decade.
But yet he's uninsurable, or he's either going to be highly rated or uninsurable because of occupation or poor health. Mm-hmm. But he loves the infinite banking concept. So he says, you know what? All I really want to do is I want to provide myself passive income 20 years from now. So in this particular example, Nelson, he has always hated the word retirement income.
Yes.
So what he's telling this gentleman is, you're going to be able to create this thing by utilizing the policy to gain passive income from the use of the policy 20 years from now. So passive income is the money that comes to you every year and you don't have to do anything to receive it. Mm-hmm. He even spells it out for you. So he and his wife talk it over and they say, hey, this is probably a really, really good goal. Yeah. Because he hasn't planned for much of retirement, this and that. So they have a 23-year-old daughter, Jill, who's in excellent health. And in order to make this work, what they're going to do is they're going to take this $20,000 of annual premium deposits that they're going to put in the policy. And the way they do this, it's $20,000. Excuse me.
20,
I said, yeah, it's $20,000. But what they're going to do is they're going to put $10,000 in the base, and they're going to put $10,000 in the paid up addition rider. But they're going to do this for the full 20 years.
Now just give some insight. If you're a 50-year-old person and you're thinking about passive income for the future, why does a 50-50 split on PUA, on base and PUA make sense?
Man, I just had this conversation with David Stearns, which is Nelson's son-in-law, today. There are a lot of agents out there that are designing and redesigning and playing with the policy design. In almost 100% of the examples in the book, Nelson uses around a 40% base and a 60% in the paid up edition. In this particular example, though, they're going to use a 50-50 split. And why would he do that in this particular example? Well, number one, dividends are created off of what we call the base life or the base premium. So the life insurance death benefit is created by the base premium, and the dividends are all given back to the policy owner out of that particular option. And obviously, the more money that you're putting into the base, that means the more money that the insurance company has to invest and make money on your behalf. in order to return a dividend. We have to stipulate, though, that dividends are not guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
But yet all of the insurance companies that we would work with are 100+ years old, and they've been doing the same thing day in, day out. It just so happens that one of our number one companies has been paying dividends for 111 straight years. So dividends are more than likely going to come back this way. But the dividend then goes to buy the paid up additions, which adds to the base, which increases the dividend. So it all works together for the policy owner.
The way I think about it, and this is maybe some new language for people, but I think of the base as slow burning fuel.
Yep.
Right. That is the core of it. Right. I think of the PUA as fast burning fuel.
That's right.
And so a lot of times we put a higher percentage of the premium into the PUA or the fast burning fuel because people want a higher percentage so they can turn their wind current, use it for investments or whatever. But this guy, he's thinking long term. He's thinking of passive income down the road, and he knows that the slow burning fuel, more money going into the base, is going to, that's the engine of the policy, and that's going to benefit him longer term.
It really is. So really what he's doing is he's stuffing this 20 grand into the policy premium deposits. And I'm going to tell you what, the 50-50 design, if you were looking for somebody, an older owner or an older insured, this would be extremely more beneficial for them long term if they were able to have the income to be able to justify what they're trying to do. This is all part of our client dream conversation.
Yeah.
You know, when we're talking to our clients and saying, okay, what are your goals? What are your hopes? What are your dreams? We want to know where you want to be 5 years, 10 years down the road, and we can design the policy and design their plan accordingly.
That's right. Well, Mike, then he jumps into doing this for 20 years, funding this thing for 20 years. You want to take us into the illustration on 83?
Well, so if you go to the net premium, you'll notice that he pays the premium from year 1 to year 20, $20,000 a year. You will notice, though, over in the death benefit, now remember, this is on their 23-year-old daughter. There's $2.9 million, but he has $716,000 available in policy cash values. So what they're going to do is, because he doesn't want to pay the premiums anymore, he wants to take an income. So he's going to start taking out $28,500 a year in income. Well, we're going to use a little bit of the dividends and a little bit in the paid up, the paid up policy. It's going to just basically reduce the death benefit in order to make this all work together. But we're just literally
tax free until he reaches his basis.
That's right. So he's put 20,000 in for 20 years. What is that? $240,000. And he goes down to year 34, which now, if you look at this, how many years is that? That's 13 years. 13 years later, he literally has met the amount of premium that he has put in this thing. So in all reality, you know, he's age 70, but now we're going to go down 13 years. He's 83 years old. Is that right?
Yeah, 85. It says 15 years later, father is 85 years old and has drawn out cash values of dividend additions equal to the premiums paid into the policy.
Oh, so that's 15 years then. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so 15 years have gone by, but
then he reaches his basis. And once he reaches his basis, he needs to make a change from withdrawing those paid up additions
and take dividends. Policy loans.
And that's a natural thing to do, is turn it into policy loans, because that is not becoming taxable.
Yeah, this is this is really a great illustration of what an older gentleman could do with kids.
Well, I'll chime in a little bit of a personal example. My in-laws, my wife's parents, were at a place where it didn't make sense for them to insure themselves, but they wanted to get started with the infinite banking concept, and they have 2 adult children, my wife and her brother. What they did is they insured them. Now they've been using the heck out of these policies, right? They're in their 80s now, and they've been using the heck out of these policies, but they're not insuring their lives.
Right.
And so what will happen then at their passing is the survivor of the 2 of them will become the owner of those, the contingent owner of the policies. And then at the second passing of those 2, then the children, my wife and her brother, will become the owners of those policies. And we don't even care if they've got huge loan balances on them. These are capitalized policies that will be unbelievable tools to pass on to us, which was part of their intent. They wanted to do something that could benefit them now, but benefit the younger generation in the future.
I mean, you're talking about multiple generations now. Yeah, that's the incredible thing. And in this particular example, if you just look down the road, and I'm actually going to flip over to the next page, page 84, and here we are.
So the gentleman, the father passes away, I think at 85.
Yeah, dad's gone at age 85, and this thing's still cranking out. So at age 70, the daughter can now start pulling out $150,000 a year in income. Passive income. This is dollars that she could actually take out of there, and they actually, and I'm just going to run down to the last line. At age 90, she has pulled out $3.15 million in passive income, and if and when she dies at age 90, she still passes on $2.3 million to the next generation.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody who wouldn't want to do this. I don't. So, my goodness gracious.
Well, and the other thing that I would point out here, Nelson touches on this in the last paragraph on page 82.
Yeah.
Is this was just letting the life insurance be life insurance. He's not even using any.
And they didn't even use it for IBC, right?
And so that could even expand it. And in many of these examples that Nelson shows, because it's hard to have too much complexity in a book, he's only talking about one policy.
Right.
And he's actually using the policy's money to pay the premiums, which those are 2 things, with our clients, they're calling us and saying, hey, I want to start another policy. They're building a system of policies.
They are.
Right.
Well, we're building a system of policies.
We're building a system inside our business and also personally. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so what if I'm uninsurable? It really doesn't matter. There are very rare cases that IBC couldn't work for someone. There might be a situation out there, but in most cases, there is a way to make IBC work for somebody, even if they are uninsurable. Mike, anything else you want to comment on this chapter before we move on?
No, as we were rolling through this today, I was trying to remember when we actually started these things. When we started the book, it had to be just short of a year ago. Maybe right at a year ago. Do you have dates when we started?
I was checking my book to see if I had any dates in here. I know, here we go. How the infinite banking concept got started. I have at the end of that, I have 5/14 of 20.
Wow. We've been doing this a year and a half, just short of a year and 2/3. It seems like it's gone a little quicker than that.
It does.
Well, I guess when you have fun at when you have fun at what you do for a living, it does go by quick.
It does. We'll have to figure out what we're going to talk about next.
Yeah. So
Well,
we're
we
going to
may
have
come
to.
back in and wrap this whole thing up, I think, in our next podcast, put a bow on this, maybe talk about a few of the things in the back of the book. But to our listeners, thanks again for joining us. We have a ball talking through Nelson's book. We are eternally grateful for the gift that he left us with the infinite
Oh
banking
man.
concept, the time it took for him to put together this book, and how many lives it has blessed. We're super grateful. And Mike Everett, I'm super grateful that we've got you that was mentored by Nelson to share some of the stories and the insights that you've picked up over the years from Nelson.
Well, it's been a whole lot of fun, and as you well know, when I sit down and I think about Nelson and what he deposited in me, and now my responsibility to you and Michael, Shelley, and the people that are listening right now, it's a huge responsibility, and I get a little choked up sometimes
Yes, you do.
because of my care and my love for Nelson. So we get excited when we get to do stuff like this.
That's right. Well, to our listeners, thanks again for joining us. Check us out at lifesuccesslegacy.com. We have lots of resources there. If you don't have a copy of Nelson's book, oh my goodness, for the love of everything, would you go buy a book and read the darn thing?
You can get it on our website.
Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next time.